Justin Castro Trudeau has obviously committed treason and has declared war on the people of Canada, all of the people of Canada, by attempting to circumvent the Constitution, the Charter of Rights, and his duties as Prime Minister to protect, serve, and represent the people of Canada. Justin Castro Trudeau has no authority but that which is granted to him by the consent of the people of Canada. At no time have the people of Canada consented to Justin Castro Trudeau dismissing the legal framework of Canada and occupying a position of dictator, king, emperor, or supreme leader. As a component of his treason, Justin Castro Trudeau has misused the flag of Canada, and he now claims it as a symbol of his unlawful treason. The Canadian flag is now in capture and threat by an occupying force, that force being Justin Trudeau and his accomplices and paid enforcers. It is no longer wise to display that flag unless you are declaring yourself to be loyal to Canada's occupying criminals. The flag of Canada does not presently belong to the people of Canada, and no person in Canada is obligated to any kind of loyalty to that flag in any way. The presentation of that flag is currently a message of loyalty to a criminal, treasonous enterprise directed by Justin Trudeau. Until the people of Canada restore their Constitution and Charter of Rights and remove the occupiers, they need another flag, another symbol which purely represents the lawful rights, honor, and nation of the Canadian people. You might say that the maple leaf, the single and free maple leaf shape and design, is what represents the Canadian people, while the flag-shaped border represents the unlawful bondage and treason being currently perpetrated against the Canadian people. To have a flag that truly represents the Canadian people, it must be graphically distinct, clearly distinct from the flag that has been seized and repurposed by treasonous criminals. That new flag design can be whatever the people of Canada might agree on as truly representing them and as symbolizing that Canadian officials must recognize and serve in the interest of Canadian people and not the interest of the public servants themselves. It might be appropriate in the current circumstances, for instance, to represent a flag displaying 13 maple leaves, one for each of the 10 provinces and 3 territories of Canada. The equal representation of provinces and territories would signify the reduced legitimacy of the federal order in Canada and the resulting inherited sovereignty of each province and territory, that sovereignty having been established by the unlawful and treasonous acts of Trudeau and the federal order. This 13 maple leaf image might serve to symbolize territorial sovereignty, the restoration of representation of the Canadian people by their provinces and territories, and the current absence of legitimacy of any central authority as the Prime Minister and the National Parliament. Any Canadian who displays this flag would be declaring the knowledge of treason of Trudeau's cartel, the resulting illegitimacy of Canadian central power, and that the single maple leaf flag could be restored at the time that Trudeau is removed and the Parliament renew their oaths to the people of Canada and then the Constitution and their Charter of Rights. So the 13 maple leaf flag may be temporary or permanent, depending on the conduct and status of the Canadian Central Authority. The 13 maple leaf flag would be a symbol representing the illegitimacy of and opposition to any official or enforcer who may attempt to impose treason upon the people of Canada. While this flag puts the central authority on notice, it implies sovereignty of the provinces and territories until the central authority is validated by the consent of the Canadian people. That means that the Canadian people must be very vocal, assertive, and active in refusing the tyranny and demanding honorable and loyal service and representation from their governments. The provinces and territorial governments can be treasonous tyrannies too. They can be abusive and corrupt, just as any other state or collection of power can be. If the province or territory government does not join the Canadian people in opposing the tyranny and treason, then perhaps no flag deserves the honor of the maple leaf. I believe the recognition of provincial sovereignty and the statement of illegitimacy of the central authority is a kind of warning shot to all Canadian central authorities and officials, national, provincial, and local, that the Canadian people will protect and defend their sovereignty and rights at all times and against all violators. And if a flag is to be presented, it will be a flag that represents the absolute supremacy of the Canadian people over their public servants. And it will be the public servants, not the Canadian people, pledging loyalty to that flag. People who call themselves leaders must earn that privilege by performing service and demonstrating their obedience to public demand, by listening to the people and considering what they say to be the only duty of the official. Justin Castro Trudeau has made it clear that the Canadian people do not need a bully or despot. They need a proper public servant. Loyalty and obedience to bullies, like Trudeau, may be appropriate at certain times. However, Trudeau has crossed the line, believing that his only constituency is Klaus Schwab and a clan of globalist depopulationists, declaring the Canadian people to be the enemy and presuming to discard their Constitution and Charter of Rights. Trudeau no longer has any relevance to the people of Canada, and the people of Canada have very little time to set things straight. This is now the flag of Justin Trudeau and his personal treasonous plan for Canada. Is that your plan? Is that your flag?